Here is the full script, no headings, written as pure flowing narration. Take a moment right now. Look down at your hands, not at the wrinkles, not at the years written across your skin. Look at your nails, because what you might see there could be the most important health signal your body has sent you in years. And most people over 60, never once stop to notice it. Here's something that very few doctors take the time to explain clearly. Your nails are not just dead cells growing at the tips of your fingers. They are windows, living biological windows into what is happening deep inside your body. In your organs, your blood, your circulatory system, your immune response. And after the age of 60, those windows start telling a very different story, a story your body has been quietly writing for years. The question is, are you paying attention? Let me tell you about Margaret, 67 years old, retired teacher, active, cheerful, always told herself she was in good shape for her age. One evening, her granddaughter, a nursing student, reached across the dinner table and gently held her grandmother's hand. She stared at Margaret's nails for a long moment, then quietly said, "Grandma, when did your nails start looking like this?" Margaret had no answer. She had never looked closely enough to notice. 3 weeks and 2 specialist appointments later, Margaret was diagnosed with an early-stage cardiac condition, caught just in time. The warning had been there for months, right at her fingertips. Here's what most people never realize. The nail bed, that soft tissue beneath your nail, receives a constant supply of blood. And because of that, it reflects changes in circulation, oxygen levels, nutrient absorption, and organ function remarkably quickly. Doctors have known this for over a century. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, described what we now call clubbing of the nails as a sign of deep internal disease. In 400 BC, 400 years before the birth of Christ, physicians were reading nails like a map of the human body. And yet most of us go our entire lives without ever learning what to look for. So today, I want to walk you through 4 dangerous conditions that your nails may already be warning you about. Not to frighten you, but because you deserve to know what your own body is trying to tell you. And because catching these things early, even just noticing something feels different, can change everything. Let's start with the first one. Have you ever noticed your nails curving downward at the tips? Like the nail grows outward and then slowly bends toward the ground, and the fingertip itself starts to look rounder, almost swollen? Most people chalk this up to age, or to how they trim their nails, or they simply never notice it at all. But this shape has a name: clubbing, and it is one of the oldest known signs of serious lung and heart disease. When your lungs are not delivering enough oxygen to your blood, whether from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, pulmonary fibrosis, or even lung cancer, your body responds by redirecting blood flow to the extremities. The tissue beneath the nail bed swells, the nail curves, the fingertip widens. This is your body compensating, quietly, desperately, without a single word of complaint. And here is what makes this so heartbreaking. Clubbing almost never hurts. There is no alarm, no obvious signal. Just this slow, silent change at the tips of your fingers that most people dismiss for years before anyone ever thinks to ask why. Have you ever looked at your own nails and felt something seemed slightly off, but you couldn't explain what? Most people won't admit they've noticed something like this, but I want you to really think about it right now. The second condition is one that lives in the color of your nails. Not a dramatic color change, nothing that looks like something is obviously wrong. In fact, this is exactly what makes it so dangerous. It looks subtle. It looks like aging. It looks like nothing. But pale nails, nails that have lost their healthy pinkish tone and turned whitish, almost translucent, sometimes with a thin strip of pink still visible near the very tip, can be a sign of something called Terry's nails. And Terry's nails are strongly associated with serious liver disease, congestive heart failure, and type 2 diabetes. Think about that for a moment. 3 of the most life-altering diagnoses a person can receive: And one of the earliest visible clues is something as quiet as the color draining from your nails. Doctors believe this happens because changes in blood protein levels, particularly in people whose liver is under stress, affect the tiny capillaries feeding the nail bed. Less blood, less color. A nail that looks almost ghostly against the skin. I want you to hold your hand up right now. Turn it toward a window. Look at the natural light falling across your nails. Is the color rich and even? Or does something look faded, washed out, like the warmth has left them? Nobody talks about this part, but they should. The third warning sign is one of the most commonly ignored. Ridges. Vertical ridges running from the base of the nail to the tip. Now, shallow vertical ridges can be a normal part of aging, similar to wrinkles in the skin. But deep, pronounced ridging, especially when it appears suddenly or worsens significantly, can signal rheumatoid arthritis, iron deficiency anemia, or problems with nutrient absorption in the gut. Here's where things become more complicated. Horizontal ridges are an entirely different story. A deep horizontal groove running across the nail, what medicine calls a Bowes line, is often the mark of a serious illness or trauma the body went through. These lines form when nail growth temporarily halts due to severe physical stress, a major infection, a heart attack, a period of extreme malnutrition, even uncontrolled diabetes causing a metabolic crisis. The nail stops. The body is fighting for its life. Then growth resumes and the pause is recorded, permanently, as a groove across the nail. Your nails are literally keeping a diary of your health crises. The ones you survived. The ones you may not have even known were happening. When someone shows me their nails and I see a Bowes line, I don't see a cosmetic concern. I see a timeline. I see the body's record of a moment when something went seriously wrong. And I ask, what happened to you around that time? Tell me, has anyone in your family ever had something like this noticed by a doctor? A nail change that turned out to mean something serious? I'd love for you to share that in the comments, because more people need to hear those stories. Now, the fourth condition. This is the one that surprises people the most, because it lives not in the shape or the color of the nail, but underneath it. A dark streak, a thin, dark line running vertically under the nail, almost like someone drew it with a very fine pen, sometimes brown, sometimes nearly black, sometimes only a few millimeters wide. For many people, this is a bruise, a trapped blood vessel from an injury, completely harmless. It fades in a few weeks as the nail grows. But for some people, particularly those over 60, particularly those with fair skin, a dark streak under the nail that does not fade, does not move as the nail grows, and appears without any memory of an injury, can be an early sign of subungual melanoma, under the nail. This is one of the most misdiagnosed forms of skin cancer in the world, because it hides, because people assume a dark mark under a nail must be from bumping their hand, because doctors who are not specifically looking for it sometimes miss it in its earliest, most treatable stages. Bob Marley, the legendary musician, died of subungual melanoma that began under his toenail. He was told it was a soccer injury. By the time it was properly diagnosed, it had spread. I am not telling you this to create panic. I am telling you this because knowledge, real knowledge, is the only thing that changes outcomes. And the difference between a dark streak that is nothing and a dark streak that is something is a 30-second conversation with a dermatologist. If you have a dark line under any nail that you cannot explain that has been there longer than a few weeks, that seems to be slowly widening, please, do not wait. Show it to a doctor. This is where things become genuinely life or death. And I say that not for dramatic effect. I say it because it is true. Now I want to take a step back from the medical details for a moment, because there is something deeper happening here that I think is worth saying out loud. After 60, most of us start to accept a certain level of physical change as just normal. We notice something different about our body, and we say, I'm just getting older. We feel more tired than we used to, and we tell ourselves, that's just how it is now. We see something unusual and we wait. We ignore. We hope it goes away on its own. And sometimes it does. But sometimes, what we are ignoring is the only warning we are going to get. Your body is extraordinarily intelligent. It has been monitoring itself, repairing itself, compensating for damage for decades. And when something is significantly wrong, not slightly wrong, but significantly wrong, it starts finding ways to tell you. Subtle ways. Ways that require you to be paying attention. Your nails are one of those ways. Not the only way, but one of the most overlooked and one of the most reliable. The liver, the heart, the lungs, the immune system, they all leave their marks, quietly, in places most people never think to look. So here is what I want you to do today. Not tomorrow. Today. Find a good light source. Natural light is best. Hold up your hands and look, really look, at each nail. Notice the color. Notice the shape. Notice whether there are any ridges, any lines, any dark marks, any unusual curves you hadn't paid attention to before. Then look at your toenails too, because the same signals appear there. You are not looking to diagnose yourself. You are learning to see yourself, to pay the kind of attention to your own body that it has always deserved. And if you see something that concerns you, even if you feel slightly silly bring it up anyway. Show your doctor. Ask the question. Because the worst outcome of asking is that someone tells you everything is fine. And the best outcome is that they catch something early enough to actually do something about it. That is not a small thing. That is everything. I think about Margaret often, about that moment at the dinner table when her granddaughter held her hand, about how something as simple as a moment of attention, someone actually looking, changed the entire trajectory of what happened next. You don't need a medical degree to pay attention to your own body. You don't need expensive tests or specialist appointments to begin noticing what is changing. You just need someone to tell you what to look for. And now you know. Your body has been talking to you your entire life. Through symptoms, through sensations, through signals hiding in plain sight. It never stops communicating. It only waits, patiently, persistently, for you to finally listen. After 60, that conversation becomes more urgent, more specific, more worth having. So listen, look, ask the questions you've been putting off. Make the appointment you've been delaying. Share this with someone you love who might need to hear it. A parent, a grandparent, a friend who always says, "I'm fine," without really checking. Because the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to catch something before it catches them. Take care of your body. It is the only home you will ever truly live in, and it is worth paying attention to.